Peace, peace. Happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. The aspect of being relatable and meeting a person where they at. And in essence, the difference between it. You know, like say for instance, like sometimes we could find ourselves being relatable in a sense to please people, and then you got like meet a person where they at, where a certain situation present itself, you know, and we meet a person where they at, you know what I'm saying? Like I think about that aspect of, you know, how we may go backwards, quote unquote. We say backwards, but back into these old spaces. You know, we go back into these old spaces, and I see it a lot again because I've seen it with myself, like with family and stuff like that, where like if a conversation pop off, instead of like keeping it real about what you know or what you, for lack of a better word, like all the different aspects, like what you believe, what you know, all that, but like, you know, when you know something, you know, and you align with it, you resonate with it, you know, it's for you to speak on that truth, you know. That's the truth that you stand by, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is for you, you know. But sometimes I've seen in my experience where, you know, you go backwards in order to be relatable. Like say for instance, prime example, one that pops up is the aspect of fear. Like my mom or somebody might be like, oh, you know, boy, you better be careful at you know, the way you touch money. Let's just say something simple. Be careful with the way you touch money, because you know you could catch AIDS or something if you put that dollar in your mouth. You know, now I have two options. I could be like, hey mom, look, that don't exist in my reality. Look, all that germs and stuff, I don't fearmonger myself, you know, like, but explaining or speaking up for what you know, truly align with. You know, like, hey, look, I hear you, but look, I'm straight on all that, what you're talking about. And at the same time, I'm not, as I'm telling you that this is what I'm aligned, like this is my truth, that I don't believe in catching no AIDS from a dollar. I'm also, as I'm expressing this, I'm just letting you know that this is how I align, and I'm not telling you to align like me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's very key too. We're not trying to preach to people and try to make them, you know, where we at, and hence why we be having to just grow away from people. You know, like once you start to grow on a certain level, it just is inevitable. But to, you know, the separation, because you're vibrating on different frequencies. You know, I don't vibrate on the frequency of being scared of certain things. So if like, you know, a family member, an old friend or something bring up aspect of being fearful towards something, you know, I keep it real, like, nah, you know, I look from my studies, and be real with you, depends on the situation, because you don't even have to, you know, explain yourself that deep in that sense of it. It could just be a simple like, nah, I don't align with that, you know. Again, from my research and my inner gnosis, that's kind of how I love vibe to say, from my research and inner gnosis, you know, I know better than to, you know, feel that way about that. But to each his own. If that's how you feel about, you know what I'm saying? Like, but again, like the example of being relatable instead of just being, you know, true to yourself. Now on the flip side, that's the aspect of keeping it real. But now the aspect of being relatable is like somebody bring up, you know, oh man, you know, the cops just shot another brother and this and that, man. That's a damn shame, bro. It's like, oh no. Again, this is the relatable aspect. So like, yeah, man, they done shot another brother, man. This and that, bro. That shit crazy. And then instead of you just standing in your knowing, like say for where you know that all this shit is fear mongering and, you know, trolling to get your attention and focus, you know, instead of instead of speaking on, what you know about that situation, you're like, oh yeah, man, you know what, that is messed up, man, and this and that. Like, well, you make yourself relatable, but to the point of going backwards, where you're speaking in a manner that you done grew out of. You know better than looking at all those aspects as, oh, I feel sorry, or, oh man, that's messed up, what they doing to brothers, or this and that, But just to be relatable, you'll act like, and the subconscious don't pay attention to what, oh, all right, you just being relatable, so I'm ignoring what you're saying right now. That's very key. Let me repeat that. Your subconscious is not paying attention. It doesn't even pick up on, oh, this, Universal just saying that to be relatable with these people right now, so we're going to ignore what he's saying right now. Like, our subconscious is always listening, always, again, as we constantly say things, constantly think things, it becomes a belief, it becomes a habit, a habitual nature of being, or, or way of thinking, and again, our subconscious don't know, oh man, you just being relatable right now. So it's like, nah, like, so if you know not to fear things, and you done learn about, like, I always tell a story about, like, the Zen story with the disease going into that town, and the disease took out, like, all kind of people. It took out, like, basically the disease was coming into the town, and it was like, they had this yogi, at the edge of the town. He saw the disease, again, the personification of a disease, walking as a person, walking into the town, and before he got, he was passing the yogi on the outskirts, and the yogi like, whoa, like, what you, I know what you about. You about to, like, cause some havoc, quote unquote, or, you about to give some people some diseases and shit. He's like, look, I'm only going to get 2 people, and yogi, you know better than anybody that this is a cycle of life. Like, what I'm saying? Like, there's positive and negative, and I come to, be that other side of the spectrum right now, what I'm saying? So the yogi like, all right, cool, what I'm saying? Come into the town, take your 2 people, and be on your way. And so the next day, the yogi went into town, and they had like over 14 people who died of the disease, so the yogi hurry up and catch up with the disease, like, as he, like, leaving. He was like, bro, you said you was only gonna take 2 people, and 14 people fucking transition. And he was like, shit, those other 14 ain't got nothing to do with me. They saw the 2 people that I took, and then they got fearful, and that fear of, catching the disease is what, what actually caused it, what I'm saying? So they end up transitioning through fear of catching the disease, which turned into catching it, and turned into them transitioning. So the moral of the story, back to the aspect again, like, being relatable and meeting people where they at. And we're going to get into the meeting people where they at aspect, which, again, like, is somewhat one and the same, but again, just tomato on the terminologies of it, but again, you could either keep it real, and be authentic about, like, like people talking about politics, like, you keep it real in the aspect where you done grown past it, and matter of fact, that's gonna be the aspect of being not relatable, but the aspect of meeting people where they at. But anyway, again, excuse me, y'all, I just had like a little brain fart. But again, as you're constantly growing, and this what it all boils down to too, what I'm speaking on too, is just the aspect of constantly growing, and we outgrow certain spaces, and when we come across, people that are still in some of those old spaces we used to be in, we don't have to act like we still in that space just to be relatable. Like, oh, I don't want them to feel funny or feel some kind of way, so let me be relatable. Let me, what I'm saying? Like, let me say something that's going to, not allow for them to feel uncomfortable. And which, first and foremost, it starts with you. you may feel uncomfortable with keeping it real, so it's going to create the situation of it seeming like they're uncomfortable with you keeping it real, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's like you being straightforward, being authentic, you know what I'm saying? Now, you got situations where, meeting people where they at, in the sense where I have the understanding that I have, but when I'm working on a job, I'm at work or whatever, somebody might say something about a certain aspect, and you meet them where they at, without necessarily going backwards. Like you do your best to, and again, that's why I say meeting a person where they at and being relatable is basically one and the same. But when I'm talking about being relatable in the sense of going backwards, and then meeting the person where they at is not necessarily going backwards, just meeting the person where they at, you know what I'm saying? Like a person might talk about going to the casino and hitting it, like, oh yeah, meeting a person where they at, like speak from, oh yeah, I used to go to the casino, you know what I'm saying? Like not necessarily like, oh yeah, I'm with that life, like right now I go to the casino, or I still believe in luck. Like no, like I'll meet you where you at, in the sense of talking about gambling, you know what I'm saying? Like we could talk about gambling, but again, I'm meeting you where you at, but I'm also being authentic in the expression of it. So yeah, we could run it about the casino and like, yeah, I used to go and I used to play a roulette table, this and that. But then say for instance that person believe, like they may still believe in the aspect of like being lucky and not necessarily seeing it as synchronicity, or or really being meant for you to line up with it, so if they still got that aspect of like luck, like, well, hey, I understand how things manifest, some people call it luck, I don't resonate with using the word luck, but I get why some people may, what I'm saying? Again, like expressing your authentic truth, where you still being in alignment with what's true to you, and at the same time being able to, have that conversation with that, what I'm saying, with that that person, Like I laugh and think about like at the shout out to Brother Panic and matter of fact and Khadijah, and being at the lecture that just passed, and how somebody, and anybody who know better, who know, Panic and the way he lecture, you in essence, what subject matter that, he don't deal with. But anyway, that aspect. Oh. When there's fire trucks, it's like something is a emergency, or something is urgent, dealing with spirit or dealing with taking action. As far as like the symbols and how they resonate within my realm. But yeah, with that aspect again, like being relatable and just keeping it real. But like somebody that asks Panic about cryptocurrency, and anybody that know anything about the brethren know that, bro, he does not deal with any of that fucking shit. And which he kind of blew that shit off like, man. Like, but then, again, meeting a person where they at, like, hey, I did hear some shit about some cryptocurrency or whatever, but I don't fuck with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, he stayed authentic, met the person where they was without going backwards, you know what I'm saying? But this is the end of this transmission. I'm about to catch the bus. But that's basically it, you know what I'm saying? Again, like, there's a way to meet a person where they at and still be true and authentic to yourself. And then there's that aspect of like being relatable, but you're being relatable by going backwards, and you don't want to go backwards, in your growth, you know what I'm saying? But happy now is the vibrate, y'all. Peace, peace.